This one's for the D-Max lovers. If you've got a D-Max, you're looking to get one, or you simply love the car, we're going to take you through step by step what we've done with this 2025 D-Max. And at the end, we're going to go through how much it cost and what was involved. So it'll take you back a couple of months. It's now it's almost June. So back in February this year, 2025, a lovely gentleman named Brad walked in the door. We got a lot of walk-ins here, people coming and checking the product out, and he was one of those. This was just on the other side of the release of our chassis mount, or what you would typically see as a Gen 2 design. And he wanted to check those out. He'd seen them online. He's come in and had a look. He had a new car on order. Hadn't picked the vehicle up yet, which was this lovely D-Max here. And he was at that early stage, I suppose, of wanting to build something that he'd been wanting to build for 20, 30 years as a concept, which is effectively a home away from home. So as we do, it's an experience here. Started off with the product itself, walk through the product. But the biggest thing we needed to sort of understand from Brad was what he actually wanted from the vehicle. And that's the biggest thing. You can kind of do anything with these cars, and there's so many options. So it's really important to really distinguish and get a distinction on what it is exactly that they want from the vehicle. Even if they have no idea, at least we know what it means when someone just says, I just want cold beers at the end of the day. Something as simple as that can really help us. So at the front of the vehicle, the mantelpiece is the Off-Road Animal Predator bar. So that's a hoopless bar. The Toro bar is the one with the hoops. So a very similar design on the hoopless bar, but it was a specific requirement that this vehicle was to not only be functional, it was to look good too. So the hoopless bar was the prerequisite. Brad kind of had an idea that the hoopless bar from Off-Road Animal was what he wanted. There are other options and they do look equally as good, but as I said, he knew kind of what he wanted. So it was a quick and easy one on that side of things. We got one of those on order. There was a bit of a lead time. Obviously these guys make some pretty good gear and it was popular. So it was a couple of months wait for that one. Now the Lazer Sentinels, these are a phenomenal light, UK made. So it's like artwork over there, what they do with these lights. Rally proven, motorsport proven. The Sentinels were an obvious choice for us to recommend to Brad. We've been in lighting for a lot of years and we know quality when we see it. So for us, it was a no-brainer. Uniden 80 channel or 80 channel nowadays, and it was the XTRAK model, which is their effectively premium model. It's all controlled on the handpiece, operated from that. Unclip it in the vehicle, and it just gets put away somewhere if you don't need it too. So smaller aerial for that one. Brad doesn't do a huge amount of long distance. Having a 9.9 or even a 6.6 decibel wasn't really what he needed. So we've got a 3.1, I think there. In the bar as well, we've got the light bar, and that's an Off-Road Animal product as well. So the combination of those three, I mean, there's nothing else you'd need. You can do long trips with them with confidence. So one of the more important parts of the build, and something that's kind of forgotten most of the time, is suspension and of course wheels and tires as well. So ROH was the wheel of choice. It was an obvious one. We use so many ROH wheels. We run them all on our company vehicles. All our team has them as well. The Vapors were the wheel of choice for Brad. There was a couple other options he sort of toyed with and dabbled with. Committed to these, and of course, through our suggestion was a Black Bear all-terrain 3 tire in a 285/70/17. So that on this offset fits really well. You'll notice here the blade models, D-Max blade front flares. Had to fight tooth and comb to get those, and I think they look really, really good. Accent the car really well. They just give us a little bit more to play with on the offset side of things as well. And I think the least spoken about thing, suspension. There's so many questions we get. What suspension should we choose? What do I need? And that was one of Brad's biggest questions. We spent a fair bit of time going through that. The main consideration was not so much cost, but what he needed. I mean, there's no point fitting something you're never going to use. We quoted up 2 options, being just the formula suspension and of course the F4Rs by Fulcrum, and it was an obvious choice to go for the F4Rs, just due to the ability that we can rebuild them. They are tunable, so we can set the dampening and rebound settings for the weight at each side or end of the vehicle as well. So it's quite important that we did it kind of once and did it right, and then all the UCAs and all the knuckles as well, to make sure that we get that alignment back to where it needs to be, irrespective of the height. So that's a kind of a front end package that's pretty common nowadays for us. F4Rs, wheels and tyres, just give it that more bolstered look, kind of complete the car's build as well. So as we move up to the roof side of things, pretty staple product for us is the Pioneer backbone system by Rhino. They've recently released their Pioneer 6 platform, which in the most part's pretty similar, but they have spent a lot of time and attention to how much wind drag and how effectively efficient it is as it's on the car. So the platform 6 is a little bit more aggressively tapered at the front, but still fits all the accessories and the backbones and stuff. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And it's a great solution for those people who want to access that roof and get that space off the roof as well. So as we move on to the canopy side of things, the more home away from home, as we spoke about earlier, is of course the tent and the awning. So there are a couple of options on that side of things, and so many variations, I suppose. For this particular customer, Brad gave us a brief, and he wants this to last a long time, and he kind of didn't worry too much about how much it costs. So the Bush company, those guys only 20 minutes north of us, great relationship with those guys. And the 270 Max awning, and of course the AX27 is a staple product. Been all the way around with the awning and out the front as well. The actual tent itself is just a really good combination and really, really well made. It'll last for 10 years, not 2. So one of his prerequisites was this whole thing, should I move the vehicle on, I want this all to be built to last, and of course built for the future. So we'll go into that a little bit later as well. So there's a couple of ways we mount the tents. We get a lot of questions in very early stages of builds as to what the options are and how does it all work and so on. In the very early days for us and myself personally, there was a lot of time and attention put into making sure we thought about that, because tent adaptation or even roof rack adaptation on the top of our canopies is part of our design, with the way our door pivots and all sorts of things. So we had to really think about it, and what we've come up with is effectively like a rail system. So there's a 2-piece rail system, which is what this one has. So there's a bottom piece and then a top piece sandwiches in, and you can adjust that up and down. And the reason we have that is sometimes we need to clear accessories mounted on here already. So we actually need to raise the tent on its mounting system when it's on the canopy to actually clear, or lower it to clear accessories and door heights and other things. So we needed that versatility. It's a really unique system. We haven't seen it around, but it offers just versatility for pretty much anything you're going to fit. So that's kind of where we come from, is like a whole sort of build process rather than just tacking parts on that we find around the place. Everything in the XGO system's considered. So everything's designed to kind of fit and use with multiple styles and multiple build types as well. Probably the biggest thing is the 1400 canopy chassis mount system. So that is effectively a trayless system. So a tray and canopy is a modular system you can take off. This is what we call a chassis mount, and that effectively means that it's one fixed body and it's mounted to the chassis of the vehicle. And for Brad, that was perfect. So he has no intention to use the ute part or have a modular setup. And for him, maximizing the space with the 1400 without the headboard and other things was the goal, due to the fact that maybe later down the track he might tow. So having excess weight over the rear was just not an option for him. So the first thing you notice is obviously the doors. Now, I've been through this a couple of times, color coding, color matching. What's the difference? Color matching gets us the exact color in all lights. So sunlight, artificial light. Color coding is effectively going to be very similar, but not the same. Forging the way for others to copy, as we say. But the fuel adaptation is something that we just don't see very well done. So we've done a really good job at making sure that's done properly. And it's always there, like it's a standard feature. We don't have an option for it. We just adapt it properly. It's just what we do. It operates as it does still now as it did when it came in from the factory, which is really important. We have a lot of respect for the engineers that design these cars, and certain things are done in a certain way. And it's our job to emulate that and make sure we retain that and it functions as it did when it drove in. So let's head inside where the magic happens and see what's going on in here. First thing you'll notice is the door height versus the awning. So again, going back to that mounting system, it all came into consideration when we were building the XGO system, was making sure we could maintain door height and awning or any other side accessory functionality. So it was really important to make sure that we had full height of the door and full functionality, but also maintain the use of the awning on the top there as well. So going inside, looks pretty similar to a lot of builds we do. Our ethos is around simplicity and functionality. So making sure we didn't overcomplicate the inside, kept it really functional was the first place we start. So we're going to start over on the drawer side of things. These 500 drawers, we've got a wider one of 780, which sort of consumes the extra bit of space if you were to have a full length service body. The 500 drawer is our most popular by a long stretch, even when people have more room, just due to its functionality. So you've got, with all drawers, the drawer itself, and then prep table underneath as well. So the addition of that, opening your fridge, and then of course, having that slide back in when you don't need it, having the drawer, and then the part in here on top, kind of covers all the bases. As we move down, another staple again, it's the 85 litre Bushmans. We do so many of them, probably about 50 every 3 months, where these guys never come back. They're always reliable. So it's kind of a staple item for us, something that we do pretty much recommend to everybody. And it's the 85 litre, it fits really well in here. Now, power hub. Another main part of most people's builds, almost every build that comes out of here nowadays has power in it of some varying degree. And the latest power hub has been probably the most popular solution we've ever had for power. And there's been a couple of iterations of that, but the whole thing's around a concept of sort of modularity and all-in-one solution. So this power hub here is the 200 amp hour and effectively gives us 3 kilowatts of inverting power, 200 amp hour lithium battery storage. We have 50 amp DC-DC charger. We have a 50 amp AC charger as well, and then 40 amp solar regulator as well, all inside. 8 switches, 8 circuit breakers, 6 power outlets, and of course 2 general purpose Andersons down the bottom as well. So it's really simple to use. It turns on the inverter. Got 3 GPIOs here, all on an RCD on the back side. And then of course your 8 controls, and that effectively controls all our lighting, any accessories that need to be controlled in the canopy or what you want connected through the canopy is all done through that system there. The beauty of the system is it is phenomenally quick to fit. Being an all-in-one unit, it goes in, and all of our power rough-in as we'd normally do for any other power system remains the same. But the idea is it all just plugs in. Everything's pre-harnessed, pre-wired, pre-provisioned. It is literally a case of plugging it in. Now, we are the first in the world. I have checked high and low, east to west. There is nothing like this in the world, which baffled me. But when we went to go design it, it was a pretty simple brief. It's like, how can we fit all of this in one unit and have it available for the customer to switch out into different vehicles or systems or platforms with minimal collateral or proprietary wiring. I remember us building a system in a vehicle, our own vehicle. We spent $10,000 in labor building this, and when the vehicle was sold, it all had to go with it. It was all kind of made to suit and made to fit. We won't make that mistake again. So the idea of the power system was exactly that. It was made to be modular and easy to fit. And it's the customer, it's you guys that get the benefit at the end of the day. You get the benefit of making sure that you're not investing in something you can't ever use in the next vehicle or the next platform. To me, that's ludicrous. We should be able to continue rolling these things on as a whole package onto vehicle to vehicle. So pretty simple inside. Again, the lighting package in most of our canopies is pretty similar. So it varies a little bit, but the main part is we've got internal lighting and door lighting. So X1 features pretty much in every canopy for all the internal stuff, and now integrated into the door is our strip light. Again, unique to us is the full width moly panel in here. It drops down, allows you about 70 mil of cavity storage for anything you really want to attach to that, or you can use it on the outside too. Handle on the door, and central locking is standard. We use a solenoid based lock in our central locks, so more reliable, much more reliable. We don't have that actuation of that big arm. They just seem to fail a lot. So much better quality lock up there and a much more sure lock itself when you go and hit that button to actually lock it. So as we drop the door down on this side, we'll continue around to the lower side of the storage compartment on these service bodies. It's a pretty deep locker, so good for compressors or gear you don't really need all the time. A lot of people love the drawer. We got copied a lot for that, and then now we've gone back to the locker for that functionality to put stuff in there like compressors on that back wall. It's a little bit different design. I think a lot of people are deterred by having the side box like this because stuff falls out, but you've got a bit of depth in there, and that allows us to put stuff into it whilst it's still having a door. And it took a fair bit of time to kind of design that to make sure it was functional and big enough and actually work, but also look good in the grand scheme of things. But it's been really easy for us to put things in there for customers now, which is just much easier. We don't have to find another place or hide a compressor or something like that. So that's great. Brad's kept these reasonably open. Again, on the token of keeping it simple, stupid. We don't want to overcomplicate things, and we like the storage that he's got, and that's what he opted for. So another unique addition to our lineup for 25 in the service body range, soon to be in the tray range. There's a couple little hints dropping there. Is our zone lighting, what we call, or rear work light. And that is simply on a button. Now, I mentioned before, we can adapt that button to go to OE zone lighting if it's available. It can be switched off ignition. It can be pretty much switched how you want. Given the fact it's external, anyone can turn it on. This one's actually isolated in the canopy. So should we need to isolate it so no one can use it, it's publicly parked or something, we can turn it off. But for the most part, it's just there to provide an even spread of light around the vehicle without you staring into light or having to go in and internally switch something on, or having it up above here in your eyes as well. So that's really cool. We do love that feature. On the back here, we've actually got a big space that's open. So what we've got in production right now is the new pantry box. Very similar to the old one, just kind of features a little bit more angle and takes into consideration this design here. What we do love about these service bodies is our new rear end. I mean, they are, I'm biased, but they are phenomenal. They look really good. They look great out on the field, on the road. We're super proud of the design of the bobtail and how we've kind of integrated it and made it look a little bit nicer on some of these newer designed vehicles. So soon to be released, new pantry box, as I said, similar to the old one. We're just waiting on that to come through. And of course the spare tire here. Yes, they do still fit underneath. We don't interrupt what naturally fits underneath. We're on top of the chassis on these bodies and our trays. So for anyone that's sort of going, can I keep my spare underneath, keep that weight a little bit closer to the front? Absolutely. So in the middle, we've actually got the little work light there. That's more of a scene light. Our work lights are quite powerful. So more suited to sort of reversing trailers or hooking into a campsite or even on the job site. Above that on the AX27 is a Safety Dave rear vision system. People go, why would I need a rear vision system? I've got a reverse camera. There is a slight distinction in the rear vision system being it's always on. So this camera sits up on a 7-inch screen over the mirror. So it clips onto the mirror. Natively, the mirror in the vehicle is useless with this on the back. And that provides a vision at a 92-degree angle of pretty much anything out the back. So it kind of emulates a rear vision mirror. And as I said, it's always on versus the reverse camera, which is typically only on in reverse. And has a different field of view too. So it's not as usable for sort of reverse vision applications. So that's something that we added on at the end. It was a late addition, but again, going through that process, pretty much uncovering all the options and making sure that we had the build complete and it was what he wanted. One of those conversations with Safety Dave and making sure that he knew about that and he can make that decision. We do have underneath a recessed flap that ends up having a whale tail lock here, which brings out the rear drawer. Now this is a great platform. Again, another kind of workstation, prep table, if you will. And then underneath the lid is actually the drawer under here. Brad's got his ladders and bits and pieces in here too. So that kind of is another recessed storage compartment, I suppose, that a lot of people find quite useful. And that just goes in there like that, drops down, magnetically latches back in there. This vehicle started life with a tub on the back, and generally speaking, if you speak to your dealer or have one existing tubbed version of a car, effectively you'll get a tow bar with it. The difference is with the tow bars, although they still function like a tow bar, when we start putting these bodies on the back, the tow bar is only suited to that rear bar. So you usually get this bar drooping down like that. Again, still functional, but when we're at this level and doing builds like this, usually the customer will opt for what we would call a cab chassis tow bar, or in this circumstance, a TAG XR. So TAG's an Australian-made company, really, really good guys. We do heaps of these tow bars strictly because they look really good. And the XR is their extreme recovery model, which actually has the recovery points on each end as well. So it doubles up as having onboard recovery points. There's no need to put a hitch receiver in with the recovery point if you don't want it. Drop hitch, you got all of your attachments up here. You can put all your wiring either side, and then it doesn't interfere with the camera as well. So we love them. We love them for that. We love them because the guys can fit them quite easily, and they're not full of complications and wrong fits and misfits and stuff like that. The other thing on the side is actually the blind spot monitors up here. So pretty simple on the back here. It's nice and tucked up, works well with the back of the vehicle. So as we go around to the other side of the vehicle now, what we call the offside or the driver's side, it's usually left for bulk storage. So on most of our builds, you'll probably notice this doesn't really get fitted out. It certainly can, there's plenty of room to, and usually people have enough on that side where they put their bags and other bits and pieces through here. And what we do start to see now is the shelf. The shelf allows us to put bits and pieces. With 220 mil here, you can fit a fair bit up there, and it's out of the way. It's always suspended up there as well. So that's kind of generally enough for most people. And we've got the back of the hub here. So RCD on the back of the hub, all the wiring goes down. We've got the AC input too, so it's super accessible to get to that. So as with all of our canopies, we do have height adjustment through the doors found on the canopy side and leverage adjustment on the door side. That allows us to keep the same gas strut without changing the weights. We just change the leverage fulcrum. It allows us to, should the door get heavier with gear that you put in here or panels or max tracks you mount on the door, for whatever reason, we can change that leverage fulcrum pretty easily. So with the rear suspension, it's pretty simple with these vehicles. You've got two choices, a traditional leaf or a parabolic. We do vary between each ones. It's just a budget versus need thing. And for this vehicle, we went for a 500 kilo constant load, accompanied with the F4R shocks, so we can tune in that adjustability, get the load and the ride right, and make sure that it's all matched beautifully, and we don't have it oversprung in the back, undersprung in the front, and we've got sort of an uneven balance there. So getting it right as a whole vehicle is really important, and we find the 500s just work the best for most of our setups. Which brings us on to the next point, which is the cost breakdown. And as important is the weight. We need to know right from the start what these vehicles are going to weigh before we go and suggest things to the customers. And it's number one and number two questions is what's it cost, what's it weigh? So let's go through that now. So many people shy away from this. They hide behind the weight and we're just going to go right into it. Transparency is something that is in our culture internally, and it's something that a lot of customers love about us. So without further ado, we're going to go into the weight first. This whole system weighs just under 500 kilos as it sits right now, and we took off 168 kilos with the tub. So with change, we've got about a 330 kilo gain on before it came in here, and we started working on it. So that's the weight. In terms of GVM land, I'm not sure how people go so far over GVM. Our systems, in terms of what we do here and how we design them and suggest they are built, always fall pretty comfortably under GVM, and we don't really exceed it too often without getting a GVM upgrade as well. Now it's the price. Just before I start the whole price conversation, we get a lot of comments, a lot of people going, that's the price of the car, or how could you spend that, or cost of living. We always go through all of this with our customer, and we really extract the values. The price is the last thing they care about, and the last thing they value. For some, that's different. So what we do is we just go through this. It is what it is. And some people really want to get things like this done. And this is a great source of information for them to really understand what goes into them. So the total build time for this, mainly waiting on third-party suppliers like parts and bits and pieces, was 4 months. Generally speaking, it's only a couple of weeks. If there's parts delays and there's supply issues, it does take a bit longer. So the customer is super gracious by giving us that time to actually do this job properly. So let's go into the price. The service body itself, being a 1400 two-door, is a standard, as a standard unit, is 15,990. To fit it, just the body itself, so that includes ensuring that we do all the fuel adaptation, the tub comes off, it's disposed of, it's cleaned up, everything's ready to go, is 1445. That includes pump wiring, plumbing, everything. So color-coded doors, including the lower locker, was 1749, 499 for the wheel holder. A bolt-on pantry, which is currently on back order, so there will be a pantry on top of that, 1199. We've got the shelf on the other side, 299. Canopy walls, so installing the wall on the front of the canopy allows us to fit accessories, 299. Bush Company mounts and awning, including mounts, was 29.35 and 58.50 for the tent. Strips in each door, 279.90. Under the tent, the rail system that we've installed, 299 for the pair of those. Internal lighting, so all of the internal X1s and bits and pieces, was 136. Charge on the rear, 159.90. Bushman's fridge and enclosure, so the fridge is 14.95, enclosure 4.95. The wiring system that goes up into the dual battery system, so that's from start battery with ignition installed, is 3.95. Power management hub, 69.90. That's the 200 amp hour model. The entire reverse camera, bliss monitor, and of course the reverse parking sensors as a supply, fit, charge and calibration should it need it, is 990. Tag XR wiring harness, 395, and the tow bar, it was 1368. The Vapor wheels was $2,000 for 5. Black Bear tyres was 2235 for 5. XTRAK with aerial, including freight, was 836. Predator bar, the Hoopless bar by Offroad Animal, delivered, including freight and the light bar, it was 34.37, and the entire suspension kit from front and rear, 55.47. Tow Pro Elite we added as well, 649. Laser lamps was 1,099. The switch for that was 29, and the entire labor charge, bumper to bumper, was 81.97. So that brings the whole thing to a grand total of 68,247.34. We're chasing cents here, and that's including GST. So about 70,000. And I believe as an LSU vehicle, it was about 70,000 to buy as well. So we've got about 140 odd $1,000 build. Some people are going to lose their marbles over that and tell us their life story, I'm sure. Other people are going to go, you know what, you guys would run a legit show, and that's what it costs. And that's pretty much what it is. We are no different from anyone else in terms of cost. We're pretty reasonable, to be honest. A lot of other guys out there, I'm sure we have a similar sort of invoice or quote too. So at the end of the day, this system, as I said earlier, can be moved on from vehicle to vehicle. So it is an investment, and we back it with a 10-year structural guarantee. So if you're in love with the new D-Maxes, you love the 4JJ3, you love what we've done here, give us a call. Sales team are inside ready to go. It's something we're super proud of. It's something we love showing off, and we hope you love it. We hope you're inspired by it. Cheers.